Hey guys, welcome back to another awesome episode of Push the Point, where I have got none other than the guy that has given us the most views ever. It is Rob Catton. He's back, getting into another top 8 at Worlds. You must be you're number 1 seed as well. Let's just point this out, right? Number 1 seed in Swiss. Dude, how are you?
Good. A little bit tired. My flights. I tried to save a little bit of money on my flights so I could, I had some longer layovers and stuff, which was not remotely worth it. But back to normal now. Just about.
So it is truly play the game, see the world. Is this you? We know that you've been to Japan already this year for just whatever. But when you're preparing to go to a tournament and you're traveling to something, Japan is very far for us. How hard was that for you to get that sort of preparation and everything? And you're trying to, I know what you mean. You're trying to save money. We're all in a bit of a tight spot money wise. Everything's gone up, whatever. So how did it work for you in that sort of travel aspect?
Yeah, so I went to Japan earlier this year for my honeymoon, so I wasn't too worried about like getting any touristy stuff in. But on the week of Worlds, I was planning. My flight was 11 o'clock in the morning Tuesday UK time, and I get going through via Beijing, so it's like a 10-hour flight to Beijing, 10-hour layover there in the worst terminal ever. But I was planning on doing some work. That ended up not really being possible because I've just started working for the government, and the government don't like you doing work in China for obvious reasons. And it was the worst terminal I've ever been in. There was like a Starbucks, and that's it. So pretty limited on what we could do there. Basically, the way that I framed my travel was I get to Japan Wednesday evening.
Yeah.
And I basically had Thursday as like a write-off. I knew that Thursday I was just going to be probably, in a bad state and probably pretty tired, jet lagged and so on. So I was planning to use Thursday to just get myself right, get my body clock right, and then I can start again on Friday, hopefully in sync with Japanese time.
Yeah.
But I usually don't do too bad when it comes to jet lag. This time I didn't actually sleep very much, but didn't feel too bad on the day, so I was just rolling with it and trying to use caffeine to keep me going.
So when you got there, how, because I remember when we went to San Jose, I was like, bro, I had no idea how you slept, right? Because I just literally woke up at 2 a.m. and went, oh, I'm wide awake, and went, oh God, it's all gone wrong. How was it in Japan, jet lag wise?
Well, when I got there, I'd been traveling for over 30 hours and I'd barely slept. So I ended up, the money that I saved, I ended up spending on a taxi, which taxis in Japan are it was £85 for my taxi, which is insane.
Yeah.
And then I pretty much went to sleep as soon as I got there to the hotel at 10 o'clock at night. And then I woke up at midnight and 3 a.m, body being very confused as to where and when I am. So yeah, it wasn't too bad, honestly. If you keep trying to sleep, eventually your body will just go, okay, and just do it.
Yeah.
I try not to take any pills or tablets or anything.
No, that's fair enough. Well, anyway, you got there. Somehow you're trying to just get through it on the Thursday. You're probably absolutely battered. But we're getting over to Worlds, and I know a little bit about this background because we've been jamming a couple of games during the ProQuest seasons prior. So Aurora was your pick for the CC portion of everything. Just for everyone listening in, why?
It felt I did play a little bit of Dash.io, but I hate being fatigued, and I hate that you have to prepare. You have to sideboard for fatigue against random decks like Riptide and Bolton and Florian and stuff, decks that just can't possibly race you, so you've got to prepare for fatigue, and I hate having to do that. It's always got to be a consideration when you're playing Dash.
Yeah.
Dash.io at the very least. So I wanted to play something where that wasn't going to be the main focus. Aurora just felt like it was generally good into everything. having a good Enigma matchup was like our first, because me and Liam Holden
Yeah.
prepared for this. Having a good Enigma matchup was our first requirement for a deck.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was just picking the one that we liked the most, and Aurora was that one.
Yeah, it makes sense because I know that you guys have been doing a hell of a lot of work during the ProQuest season just to get that up and running and to sort of just pivot. And some people can, and I get that, but sometimes pivoting from something you really just spend a bit of time on, and it's not a bad choice. Just it made total sense to me why I knew you were going to play Aurora anyway, but yeah.
Huge thing as well is that Aurora, I think, is the best aggro deck that can play Warmongers, because obviously Viserai can't.
No, well,
And
apart from that one dude.
dude, yeah. Viserai generally can't, and Dash.io generally can't. Whereas Aurora goes, "Ooh, I'll play it," and it's good into them decks.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. So you're there on the Thursday. You see the Hunted, the new set coming out. Just a very quick thing there. Hyped, not hyped.
Yeah, it's cool. I played a lot of Fi. Obviously, last Worlds that I top 8'd was with Fi. So seeing them is good. It's a pretty big card pool, especially because Ninja's not really that useful right now, given all the Katsu bans and stuff. So
Yeah.
Ira coming out and these new ninjas. I'm not so bothered about Warrior. I'd like to see Warrior be a good deck, but it's never really pushed its way into the metagame too well.
Yeah, it's a thing. And then the Arachne, ooh,
Yeah. So I was talking to my friends about this, and like, because currently Arachne, you play against Arachne thinking, right now, you're thinking, okay, this is a fatigue deck. This is a deck that's just going to block out and maybe send one attack or something.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that be different. I'd like to see Arachne be like this cool deck doing, lots of different things rather than just being a deck that blocks, which is, to me, the most boring thing in this game.
Yeah, no. Well, we'll get there. So, I mean, everyone probably knows. Spoiler alert. This is a thing. Anyway, so we kick off. You get through. It's 5 rounds rather than 4. So, what was your result in CC throughout that first period?
4-1. So I lost to UK's own Francesco in round 2.
Oh, right, yeah.
I played against 3 Viserais first 3 rounds, and I lost round 2 to Francesco. And then I beat an Enigma in the last round. I can't remember what round. Oh, round 4 was a Florian. So I beat a Florian, and then I beat an Enigma in the last round. So I finished 4.
Feeling cut. So were those games kind of tight? Did it feel very comfortable? Was it kind of like, oh my god, I need to sort of rip one? Sometimes you do need to go, I need a little bit of summon here from this hand. Or were they generally like, nah, this is what I was planning?
The Viserais were a little bit close, but as they always are, 'cause it's a very good deck. Basically, just Warmongers came at the right moments where I can like end the turn with the Warmongers looking at their 5 cards, and they sort of like deflate a little bit, which was nice.
Yeah.
Into the Florian. Florian is just a deck I've played against quite a lot in ProQuest season, and it's just very comfortable for Aurora. Like, you never crush them, but I've never lost to it, and you almost always win with like a 10 life lead sort of thing. So that's generally how that goes.
Yeah.
And the Enigma should have beat me, honestly, but they didn't take the 3 block with a Phantasmaclasm on like the last turn of the game, and me getting to keep a 3 block meant that I could block with it and survive on 1 life and then win the game from there. So if they would have taken the 3 block, I think I would have probably lost. So that was a bit of luck.
So I think that's something that I'm sure that you would massively agree with, is that everyone that gets into the top cuts of everything needs a bit of that. Ooh, okay, that rolled very much in that favor. That decision point you made, probably, like, you said you probably could have won that, right? And that happens with everything.
Yeah, you don't realize, like, at any given moment, one tiny little decision can just branch you off onto, if your opponent would have made this little one mistake here, you might have made top 8, but they made the right decision, so that meant you got your second loss in CC or whatever. Like, it's all very much on the head of a pin, basically, just like tiny little things going one way or the other way. So yeah, like, I agree. You've got to be lucky to do well in these.
Yeah, no, 100%. But you're 4-1, feeling good. So draft portion of the side of things. I know that we've been sort of chatting and testing a bit more on the CC side of things. I have put my blinkers on in our little group chat around the draft portion. What was your drafting sort of testing and everything gone? Really well, like loads or
Basically, barely any.
what?
I did like, I think I did one, maybe two. I think I only did one or two drafts on Runaways.
Right.
And I played a draft pro quest, so that was like draft, then top 8 draft. And
Right.
basically,
So
the
so
drafting was
really not a lot.
not a lot at
No.
all. The strategy that I came up with, I say came up with, the strategy that I discovered was in the top 8 of the ProQuest draft, where I basically just drafted a full Arcane Verdance deck by accident. So I wasn't like planning on doing that, but I was just taking 3 blocks and like solid spells, and found that like the Florins just couldn't beat it. Which, given so many people are like drafting Florin or like sitting down and attempting to draft Florin immediately, if you can draft a deck that just beats them like 95% of the time,
Wow.
because that's how strong I felt with the matchup was, and like no one seemed to be doing this as well. So, say in the first pod, I sit down and I'm like thinking, I think I'm going to force this, and I just hope that it's good because I'm not really that confident in it, but it's felt good when I've been playing it. And yeah, it was definitely the right decision to make. I was getting like last pick wizard cards,
Wow. Yeah.
3 or 4 cards left in the pack, and there's still red 0 for 3 spells. So clearly no one else was doing this, and yeah.
You smashed it. Absolutely smashed it. So, what was your matchup spread on that? Was it just all Florians again, or was it a bit of a mix?
In the first draft, it was an Aurora in the first round, which is not what you want to see, because they can go wide with like little annoying numbers. Basically, the best matchup is Florian, because what they generally do is they attack you for like 7 or 8 every turn, which is you'll just beat that every game. Whereas Aurora can do like go a bit wider. But yeah, I managed to beat the Aurora, and then 2 Florins. I think it was Aaron Chance in the finals.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a really good game. And yeah, once I'd done that first draft and closed out the 3-0 to finish on 7-1 on the first day, I was like, okay, this draft strategy is just awesome. And I'm just gonna going into the second draft. I was just thinking, this is all I'm gonna do.
Right. Fair enough. We'll move. So we're back. We're rested. Maybe going into going into day 2. It's draft 2 again. Is this strategy? We're going to lock this in again. Yeah.
So I first picked the Wizard Arms, and I second picked the Earth Head. So basically, there we go. There's,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think so. I was the only wizard in that draft as well.
Oh wow.
To my right is 3 Auroras, and to my left is 4 Florians. So I'm comfortably the only wizard, which again is just mind-boggling to me, because I think that this draft strategy of forcing an all arcane verdance is broken how good it is,
No.
and not one other person in the pod is trying to even draft wizard, let alone verdance.
Wow.
So yeah.
I think sometimes. So, how do you feel about that? You've had next to really no real preparation time. Imagine you just said I had 5 games of Aurora. Away we go. There is some nuance to this, right? Do you feel like you stumbled across like from that one progress that you went, oh, cool, this is a cool little strategy, and it ended up being a gem, an absolute gem that no one spotted, but somehow you just went, oh, look at that. Is that how it probably feels, or do you think that everyone overcomplicated thinking about it?
I think maybe the latter, yeah. So like I don't really understand why it wasn't as valued. Like I heard that some people were doing it. Like there was a Polish guy I was speaking to who had pretty much the same experience as me, and he was forcing it every time. But yeah, I think people feel quite comfortable of like, everyone knows that Florian's really good, and like, it's not too hard to draft a Florian deck that can beat like the Auroras or whatever. So like they just do that. But I mean, clearly no one valued it as much as I did, because I was just going in there thinking all I'm going to do is draft this one deck. So yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if I'd be shocked, in my personal opinion, if like, and I'm thinking of like the Runaway guys and other sort of teams like from Arsenal past PCG or whoever, right? I'm pretty sure they found it. And I reckon maybe, this is my sort of theory and take of it, that it can be kind of attacked, not like, it can be countered pretty easy. So that's like layer 2. So then you go, well, we don't want to commit to that, because if someone goes down this strategy, we're just dead in the water, right? So we've got to so we go down and down and down and down, and then you meet into that point where you go, well, what is the most consistent, safest one thing I can just do, and it will just battle a multitude of things across the board. But if something like what you've just picked is like I kind of hope that doesn't happen, but maybe everyone else has thought this and we're all back to where we are again. And you went, nope, just pick that one. This is good. And it just went, oh no. That's kind of what I'm sort of theorying may have happened. It's kind of wild because everyone's got their own journey and story. And it's also quite tricky because you've only done a handful. You kind of go, this. I don't know what to tell you on hard data.
Francesco had an interesting theory because I was explaining like how I was drafting it, and he was saying he thinks that maybe because everyone else when they're drafting is going, okay, let's take the Earth cards early because the Earth cards are going to be heavily contested, and then I'm sat upstream from them just taking Wizard cards. So by the time there's no Earth cards in the pack because everyone's taking them, they're looking at the pack and going, well, there's no Wizard cards, so I guess I'll take the Runeblade cards and go Florian.
Yeah.
So people just end up in Florian because I'm sat there taking all the Wizard cards, and people rarely want to go Acilio because, again, you're aiming for the Earth, and it just works out. I mean, obviously, if someone was sat to my right, passing to me, and they were doing the same thing as me, then obviously it wouldn't have worked out. But yeah. No one wanted to do it.
It's a weird one because that whole picking the element side of things when it comes to drafting feels very much in this tales. I mean, I didn't really do much drafting in this. This is just, I probably just get this vibe totally wrong. But it has that sort of Tales of Aria side of things where I remember drafting that and going, right, yeah, well, you kind of need to lean into these elements. And everyone did fight over Earth because Oldham and Briar were like, they're probably the most solid pick. So if you go Earth, you can just lean either way, blah, 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 blah. And for you just went like, no, we're gunning for the class, not the talent this time round. Does it matter? Did it not matter about Earth cards? Like, did that just not matter?
Well, this is the thing because Verdance' hero power only works. So say like you can turn it on, great. It only triggers when you gain life, and it's like, well, if you don't have any cards like if you're drafting the Earth cards and part of that is drafting Earth and cards that decompose because you need decompose to turn your hero power on and the Earth cards to decompose with. So you need to take all them. And then it's like, well, you also need some life gain as well, which does have some crossover with Earth, but you don't want to play them first and then turn your hero power on because what's the point of that? Then if you turn your hero power on by playing your life gain cards that you decompose with, then once your hero power is on, you have no reason to do it. And it's like if you see how complicated that is, and that's a lot of picks that you've got to like spend on doing that. And if you just go forget about it all and just go, the only utility I had for Earth cards was the Verdance weapon, which says if you pitch a Earth card to use the weapon, then you get an embodiment of Earth if your spell deals some damage.
Yeah.
So I'd always try and draft like I think 3 was the number 3 blue Earth cards that I can do that with. Aside from that, like I'm quite happy playing a blank hero.
It's just I think maybe that's a really, really interesting take. That I think sometimes we just look at these, like especially I am a starter of Rosetta draft, right? And you get trapped. It's kind of like see this hero ability. It's a trap. Like draft, it's a trap. This hero ability is blitz as well. So maybe this is a blitz thing that you can think of. Probably doesn't work in blitz in the competitive thing, but in a draft mindset, it's like, bro, like if you're trying to jump through all these hoops, like you just said, it ain't gonna work. And you just went just blank. Did you ever? Was the hero weapon? Like, does it amp regardless?
Yeah, so the weapon is 3 resources, amp 1.
Right.
Go again. It's an action.
But if it's extra text.
And if you've pitched an Earth card as when you use this ability, then if the spell deals any damage, you get an embodiment of Earth.
I take it that just didn't matter.
It is important.
Oh, okay.
Because if you get embodiment of Earth and then next turn Florian goes like Earth of the Night, attack you for 9, and you go, here's 2 cards, I'll take 1. Like that's pretty insane. The embodiment of Earth. So it's important, but problem is you don't want to have too many Earth cards in your deck, because then in this style of deck, especially against all the decks like that have life gain, when you draw anti-pitch deck, you don't want to be drawing like hands with no arcane in, because you need to be closing out the game.
Yeah.
So just having as many wizard 3-block cards, wizard 3-block spells as you can is super important.
Awesome. So you 3-0 that?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Was there anything close again? Or fairly comfortable?
There was something interesting in the last round of the draft. So
right.
5-0 in draft, and say 2-0 in the second draft, and so is Michael Hamilton, and inexplicably in the last round of draft we don't get paired.
Right.
I get paired into, so I think I'm X and 1 at this point, and so is Hamilton. So we're both X and 1 overall, 2-0 in the pod, didn't get paired. And the players that we get paired into are 1-1 in the draft, and X and 2 overall. So it makes absolutely no sense that we've been paired.
Yeah, but that's because you guys played each other in the C Swiss?
No.
Oh.
This is before we've played.
Right. So you so you haven't even seen each other. That doesn't make any sense.
Makes absolutely no sense. The only thing that's of note is that both my opponent, Dave, let's call him, and Michael's opponent, let's call him Pete. Dave and Pete have played each other in the first round of this draft.
Right.
So that means that they can't get paired. They're 1-1 and they can't get paired in this draft. But okay, well, why don't they get paired against the other pair of 1-1 players?
Yeah.
Because there's 2 other 1-1s in the pod right now that they could have got paired against. So basically, we have a massive 25-minute judge call where the feature match area is getting very confused because they're trying to get someone over for feature match, and we're just sat here trying to talk to the head judge and stuff like that. But the problem is, our 2 games, me and Dave and Michael and Pete, obviously fake names, we're just sat waiting. But the other pair of players who are 1-1 have been told to start their game, which is massively important, because when they're trying to fix all of this, they identify that there has been a problem, but because they've told this pair to start playing...
yeah, I knew. They can't muck about now.
No, but they've basically said it would be worse for 2 players who've already played each other, Dave and Pete. It'd be worse for them to play again in the same draft pod than, which I absolutely agree with. But, it was a massive failing, to be honest, of Jen, because my poor opponent, I think it was called Bogdan, my opponent, it was on the Romanian national team.
Right.
He was gutted because he was 1-1 and he knows that my deck is insane, and was really frustrated that he had to play against it, to be honest. And I beat him in, I think, like 4 turns, which was pretty brutal. So me and Hamilton ended up. In fact, it was Hamilton Kowalski, who was the other 2.
Right.
Not Dave and Pete. There's the real names.
Yeah. Right.
Gregor loses to Hamilton, so me and Hamilton somehow both go 3-0 in the same draft pod, and then we end up playing each other in the next round in CC.
Okay, right. That's really, really weird. That's really weird. Okay, that happened. Right, CC. We are X and 1 now. I don't know. I've lost count of how many wins that is. What's that?
10-1, I think. I started 4-1 in CC and then 6-0. So yeah, 10-1.
10-1. Ooh, bro. Okay, how are we feeling at this point? Nervous?
Obviously.
Hyped? What?
Super hyped, yeah. Like, I think I have to go 2-2 in the next. And actually, thinking about it, because Kowalski made top 8 on X and 4, didn't he? So I think actually, if I would have gone 1-3, I would have made it. Because there's only 4 rounds of CC left.
Do you think, because he got in on X and 4, this might sound a little bit wild here, but do you think it's that muck up of draft, and then there's 2-3-0s in the pod, and all of you keep moving up together, that somehow that's just made the whole end of it a little bit scuffed? And how does an X and 4 climb into a top 8? Like, I've never heard of it. Can an X and 4 get into it? I'm sure there is. Someone's going to say yes, and only one, and he is the one, right? But it just seems wild. I don't know. Someone's going to say, yeah, X and 4s do. But generally seem to think X and 3. You need X and 3 at least. You know what I mean, to get in. Anyway,
It's weird. It's had. I can't really
no.
get it straight in my mind as to what difference it makes. Because like, if it was just me versus Hamilton, obviously one of us would win, one of us would lose, so one of us would be X and 2 at that point. But then it'd be Gregor versus Bogdan. Oh no, they've already played. So yeah, it's just such a mess, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, so you're playing up against Hamilton. He's got his Count Your Blessings new, and you guys are on stream. There was the two games you're on stream. Yeah, I know. The 2 games you're on stream, it just was like, oh no, god damn. Yeah. CYB is at it again, live for the world to see. How are you? I know that game didn't pan out your way, but was that a matchup you were afterwards going, I need to avoid this if I need later on?
That's also part of why I wanted to play. I was hoping that they would fix the pairing so I could beat Hamilton and make it less likely that a County Blessings new deck, something that me and Liam think is quite hard for us. Try and get them to not make top 8.
Yeah.
So yeah, we weren't confident going into that match. It was, and yeah, I did know going into the round, into the feature match, that I did know that he was playing County Blessings new. Normally, you don't sideboard how I did into a normal new player. You play 60 cards and try and beat them normally. Yeah, really hard matchup, and probably I would say harder than the Enigma County Blessings.
Yeah, that's fair. So you're carrying on through, and what was your record? Was it X and 2?
After losing to Hamilton, yeah, 10-2.
Yeah, okay, cool. Any of those games along the journey before you get into the top 8 kind of wild and close and rough, or fairly, comfortable?
I think so. I played against Anu the next round.
Oh wow! Okay.
Which was Xing Sang, I think he's called.
Yeah. I just said yeah. I can't actually. I don't even know.
I was on the blue pitch team.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was a pretty close game. He hit me with a Bonds of Agony and didn't take all my Arc Lightnings, and then I played like back to back Arc Lightnings, and he was like, oh, maybe I should have taken that card, because it ended up being really, really good for me. We're quite comfortable with a new matchup though. Basically, the damage and disruption doesn't do enough to make it so that our numbers, our numbers are still pretty good on 2 cards. Like we can do 2 card 7s or 2 card 8s pretty comfortably. So that was fine. And then the next round I was against an Acilio. So that was like Alexander Vore.
Wow, Acilio. I've seen it in the ProQuest. It is actually quite scary, but at the same time, people go, "What are you doing it?"
Yeah. So his version was very different as well to how I've seen other versions go. So he was playing like Fate for Scenes and Sink Belows and stuff.
Yeah.
And sort of playing a more value game, which makes sense because if we go toe to toe where we're just racing every single turn, Aurora's consistency will just win her that match every time, especially because I start on 40 and they start on 36.
Yeah.
But because he was playing like this this value game with the defense reactions, and he was using Golden Flash sort of like a endless arrow, so like playing it from, and then after damage playing an instant like Sigil of Solace and then Arsenal it again. If you look at just the 2 card hand of Golden Flash Sigil of Solace, because you bounce the Golden Flash back and Arsenal it, that's a 2 card 10, which is a pretty hard rate.
Yeah.
11 even, because it's 4+4+3. That's a pretty hard rate to match. I doubt any deck really can.
That's really that is really interesting. Actually, when you play it down, like just do these 2 things. It's the value of all this. And if I get to keep it going again, this 1 card has generated whopping value. Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. But you clinched it.
Managed to clinch it, yeah. There was some sneaky play in there because I had a Balance of Justice that played in the matchup, and it kept like forgetting that. So like Coax of Commotion, we were playing Coax of Commotion in our Aurora list, which very few lists are. And I would like choose to draw a card with it, and then at the end of my turn, he was going like, "Should I use Acilio's ability?" And I'm sat there thinking, "I hope you do, because I'm about to just do." And it did catch him out at one point, but managed to win that one. And then the last round was against Alan Lau on Dash.io.
Oh yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and managed to. There's a point during the game where I'm attacking him, and he sort of like puts his hand down, puts his 4 cards in his hand down, and picks up his pen and just starts like writing. Every time I attack, he's just like, "Yep, take 4. Yep, take 4." So he's just clearly just taking whatever I'm throwing at him, and then I'm looking at this warmongers in my hand like, this is probably going to be good at the end of here. And yeah, he had a high octane, so he had to. The warmongers just screwed him over, so I managed to. I won that game like incredibly comfortably. I had like 18 life left or something at the end.
So do you think that Warmongers was it? Basically, like if you looked at it, if you don't Warmongers, this just sounds like a totally different game at this point.
I think he probably would have killed me, to be honest. Yeah, like he was willing to. He seemed nonplussed about all of my damage I was throwing at him, and he was he seemed like he was confident. I think he had a Tekla core in play, and
right, yeah,
like he was going to play. What's it called? The new blue item. Draws card.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was going to play that and stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he was going to
processor or something.
That's it. Yeah, Cerebellum.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's got the pieces in play. He's probably just turned around and went, "Look, if you got it, if you don't, I'll win. If you do, you win. All right, you got it. GG."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fair enough. We're in the top 8 now. I remember at home, we're all getting gassed up. I can see my WhatsApp chat with Simon and Trip lighting up, going, "Oh, absolutely gassed that you've managed to top seed again." I can't remember what place you got into. I think it could have been like 4th or 5th, right, at San Jose.
I think so. Yeah, it wasn't top or bottom of the 8. Yeah, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle. But then, so we were gassed. Everyone's pretty gassed. The UK is pretty hyped up again. So, right, preparing time. You've got Count Your Blessings. I remember you put on our Discord, you're like, Nigma, we got this in the bag. Literally 45 minutes later, bro, it's Count Your Blessings, Nigma. This isn't good.
That's how much that matchup changes, because, it's frustrating as well because me and Liam had 2 sideboard slots. When we were playing this deck during our Pro season, we had 2 slots dedicated. Well, there's basically 2 spare slots, so we just thought we'll play some tech for Count Your Blessings.
Yeah.
Because at Pro Quest, it's much easier to know who's playing it and who isn't after the first couple of rounds. But obviously at the Pro Tour, we thought, well, we're not going to know in the first, in Swiss rounds, we're not going to know who's doing it and who isn't. So we spent the 2 slots on playing some arrays first for Dash.io. So yeah, not having any tech was really gutting. We did, over dinner though, we did discuss basically a game plan, which I've just been thinking about ever since.
Yeah, I bet.
This week I'm sat in work meetings and I'm just staring off into space thinking, I think if I play that game again, I think I win every time.
Always.
And not even just the matchup. I think just there's some tweaks basically. I think you need to make when you're playing that game. Things like so obviously from people who watch the game, everyone's noticed I was pitch stacking like the Arc Lightnings and stuff like that, and I was attacking with Starfall as often as I could. But you need to go even further than that. I think you need to every E strike needs to be for 7. So you need to get 7 damage. Because what we're talking about here is if I add up every single point of damage in my entire deck and compare it against every single block value in your entire deck, and then obviously there's weird stuff like Arcane and Phantasmal Footsteps that make it a bit different, and life gain. Basically, can I win over 35 turns? And I think things like E-Strike, if you got a Quicken token or an Embodiment of Lightning token, everybody with E-Strike is drawing a card because that's just what you do. But in this matchup, we just shouldn't have been doing that. And every Somersault should have been bouncing E-Strike specifically because that's just another 7 damage. Whereas if you just bounce like a Ravenous Rabble, that's just 4 damage. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter on any one particular turn how much damage you deal. It's about how much damage you deal across the entire game because how many times did he attack me? 3 times. 1 CNC and then a couple of Spectral Shield tokens. Yeah. So it's not about my life total at all. It's about how much damage can I attack for of 35 turns.
Yeah, that's it. It was very, very exciting. You destroyed my sleep cycle but that's my choice. It's got nothing to do with you. But that game was like, okay, I knew it would be long. It went on long.
90 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, it went on long. But it didn't matter. It was really, really good. I loved watching both sides of it, really. It was when you watch any game of where, okay, I think he's got it. Okay, we're back this way. We're back that way. And it's like this. It was this back and forth moment, and that's what everyone loved about it. If you just heard that Count Your Blessings has won that deck, and you can just see the headline title, it's going to be kind of frustrating. But I said, if you actually watch this, it was really, really good. And I think mostly it's when two people are trying to do it absolutely right. And like you said, you're going to think, okay, you could have done some stuff better, right? But it didn't take away from the fact that it was a really, really, really good shot and a real good strategy and all this sort of stuff. It was just incredibly fun to watch two people execute their game plans as best as they could in that moment. And we're all watching it live and we're all understanding it. And yeah, and with the moment you played that electric discharge and the next stat was going to come in for +3 and you came in and you put the 4 on and everyone went, okay, cool, it's 7 and he took 4. Everyone, the chat went ballistic, like, no, we can't have this injustice. And it's not, we all knew he was going to win, right? We all knew he was still going to win, but we just wanted, like, it was so good, and everything was so spot on. And then that one guy does a dive in the penalty, and everyone's going, "Oh no, come on, man, come on! It wasn't a penalty. Blah blah blah. Just do it right. Let's do this properly." It was just so much fun, honestly. How were you feeling though? Like, this is me on our end, sitting at home watching the stream. You in the booth. How are you feeling in that moment when you're playing through it? Like, nervous? Like, did you feel like you had a moment of, I think I got this?
Yeah, I think I felt pretty good. There was a point where I think he was on like 26 life or something like that, and I hadn't done any of my arc Flicker Wisp turns. So I was thinking I could actually have it here. But I didn't really have a sense of how well I was doing because nobody tests games like that, really. Like, you don't have time to play. Oh, do you want to sit down and play an hour and a half game where you have to try really hard, like against this deck that you might not even play against? And if you play against it in Swiss, you're not going to have time to execute this game plan where the game goes as long as ours did in the top 8.
Yeah.
So I just didn't really have a sense of how I was doing, and I was really happy afterwards when I messaged you and stuff, and you said that like people thought I played really well, and that was really nice. So that gave me some like feeling of worth, I guess, after slogging it out. I was a little bit down because you finished top of the Swiss and you're like feeling invincible, and then I felt similar to how I did previous worlds where like playing the Phi mirror, but I have to go first. So I already felt like, I'm probably going to lose. And then going into this game, I felt like I was probably going to lose, which obviously at the start of the tournament, if someone said to you, would you take top 8, but you're losing the quarterfinals? You'd say, yeah, obviously. But once you're actually in the top 8, you sort of, you're thinking like, maybe I could actually win this thing. And then
hope.
You find out. Yeah, exactly.
Hope is a killer. You're getting closer you'd never thought you'd get this close to the end. And then you're like, I went through all that to stop here? No, I don't want to stop here. I'm so close. Yeah, I get it. I 100% get it. And in the end, though, it's from how I see it, you can never, you of course will always want to win, but I think it's the fact that you managed to even get into that point, like we said at the very start of this. Bro, dude, how lucky do you have to be to get to that point? And for everyone else to win, like, okay, they just don't want to go, okay, now we're in 3 in a row, no fails, absolutely no guardrails whatsoever. You don't even need to come top of Swiss. You just need to get into the top 8. There's some guardrails there, and once you're there, none. All right, tight beam, alligators on the bottom, no lifeline there, off you go. Yeah. Oh, okay. It sounds like a lot of pressure, and I think that to me, when I'm watching that game, you still managed to hold that. And I think Mercy, who came into the final, like, oh, bro, that was awesome, right? Totally awesome to see Mercy get into that final. But they're both Aurora versus the same dude again. And I don't think she played bad, but I think that it was, if you wanted to see that game, I was a little bit like, okay, your game against the Aurora one was actually seeing some massive strategy come into place. Yeah, it ended up being this absolute brick wall that Gregor managed to execute very, very, very well. Like, he did, like, no, this is not to take any way credit of him. He had to do this perfectly. And you had a moment when you had exude confidence and he had 3 defense reactions in his hand. Like, he was like, "Dah!" as if that's happening, as if this is happening. And I sat there, obviously seeing it on my end, going, "Go! Don't stop! Kill! Destroy! Just go for it!" And you're like, "I think I'm going to ask." I'm like, "No, come on, take it!" But you don't know.
And even then, like, it actually doesn't really matter.
No, I didn't think that in the end.
It's you sort of, in that matchup, you have to like stop thinking of it as a turn by turn thing and think of it as like, how about if you just had one massive turn where you play every single attack and they play every single card they want to block with. That's basically how the game goes, really.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't block with this interaction on them turn, it doesn't matter because he can block with them on the next one. And you go for every single card in your deck and just hopefully that puts them down to 0. I want to count up how much damage I dealt to, or when you play your game on Talishar and it says at the end like total damage threatened. I feel like my number must have been around 250.
Yeah, it would have been somewhere absolutely insane. You almost got there in the end as well. I've got one point, and everyone kept shouting and screaming about that last out lightning turn.
Dragon Scale.
Yep. Why did you not?
Because
it didn't matter. I get it.
Yeah, I was looking. He was on 6 life, and I'm looking at it and going, I can put you to 4. Well, but 4's not 0, so no. Like.
But I think we all wanted to just go, just do it, bro. Just do it. We know it don't matter. Just do it.
Yeah. It's like,
why put it in?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I should have got some more damage out. I was basically, I knew that like my last 3 cards were 2 current funnels and a Channel Lightning Valley, and I was thinking, if you're on 4 and those are my last 3 cards, how am I dealing you 4 through a hand of 4 chi? Because I won't have go again on my current funnel, so all I'll be able to do is just go 2, and he blocks with his footsteps and a spectral shield. So I could have put him down 2 lower, but I was like, I don't know.
No, it's definitely a super hard thing. You did actually got me all sweating as well when I think that last one I was sitting there going, bro, what? Like you pitched. It was basically grasp, and you did it. You did do it. But you were there for ages going, I was like, well, come on, what are you thinking about?
Yeah.
I was sitting there thinking, is this guy got like a massive, like, this is Leo, this is the plan, right? This is the real plan. I'm thinking, no, surely not. It's grasp. And then you're like, so what?
Yeah. I think a massive pun on my behalf as well is that we discussed this afterwards, but we should have been pitching our... I don't think it was actually that important to pitch the Arc Lightnings and Flicker Wisps, because when you do it late game, when they have fewer cards that block, you're giving them arcane damage to block instead, which is actually good for them. So like I maybe shouldn't have been doing that. What I should have been doing definitely is I should have been pitched like in my burn up shocks, because I didn't get 1 burn up to hit. Whereas if you pitch them, if you have them in the late game when they have fewer cards that block, it's more likely that you get it to hit and then you get the 4 damage out of it.
That's true. That was the only thing from someone that's never played too much Aurora, but played enough against it and seen what's going on. When I saw you slap that, it felt like for a moment I went, you've got you've got to pitch your Arc Lightnings into your Flicker Wisps, and you've got to sort of keep pushing the damage through. And I did think for the burn up shock side of things, like it was like almost midway through the game, that moment when I went, oh no, did he? Like, these are the power cards. If they're chucking them in now, like, he's at his strongest of defense at this point. It is likely they won't execute through. But was that a moment did you have midway through going like there's this early moment where you go, go, go. It's tempting to just go.
I think if I could play that game again, or if I could start that game again with a few like things I'm trying to achieve, I think you need to pitch your burn up shocks.
Yeah.
Every strike needs to be 7 damage. Every somersault needs to bounce in each strike. Every Channel Lightning Valley needs to bounce a Gon and a Flash. Because Channel Lightning Valley doesn't do anything. Like, drawing a card is completely irrelevant. Whereas playing it and picking up I think, and also, even crazier, every Lightning Press, instead of like playing it to deal them 3 damage, I think you should hit them with a Gon and a Flash, deal them 4, and then play Lightning Press to pick up the Gon and a Flash, because the 4 damage from the Gon and Flash is more than the 3 damage from the press.
Yeah, you held on to that lightning press. Like, you're
Well,
and
he
everyone was
was
going, he's
random.
doing it again.
He was blocking with his footsteps on like attacks for 4. Like he did it right at the start of the game twice, and I was like,
Where's
"How are
my
you
lightning
blocking with
press?
your footsteps on an attack here?" Like, and he did it. He did it when I had 1 card in hand, and I gave an attack go again, and he blocked with his footsteps on the attack for 4 when I hadn't played a single lightning press, because he's thinking, well, it's not lightning press because you just give it go again, so it has to be an attack. So I was thinking if I can trick him into doing the same thing again when I give an attack go again and I attack and I've got 1 card in hand and he goes block with footsteps and I go lightning press, goodbye footsteps. Like
Yeah.
I was thinking about things like that. So yeah, I think if I would play the game again, I think I actually could maybe squeak it out, but it's going to be one of them things where I just think about it for probably the rest of my life, until I let go.
Yeah, no, don't. It's done, isn't it? It's almost just like going, well, what if England didn't do that in the World Cup in '97? Bro, team's dead. Like the team doesn't exist anymore. This game won't. This game, this matchup, is it's not gonna. The next time we're in Worlds, we're 3 sets in, and
Yeah. Well, the one nice silver lining about losing is that maybe County Blessings can go away. That'd be nice.
you segued into this really nicely. Now, so we're there. You've got your top 8 again. I think that's as much as you'll go. I know you're a competitive dude. I know you want to win, but 2 top 8s. That's nuts. That's nuts. No, like the only person in the UK that's managed to get in the top 8 twice is Matt Fox. I know he's got a win in the Pro Tour, which is pretty sick, but 2 top 8s in Tier 4 events holds only with so far yourself and Matt Fox. So that's a nuts achievement, especially for the UK scene of Flesh and Blood. So well done from our team. Anyway, let's wrap this up with the future. We touched on Marked a little bit. And there's also Jarl coming out as well, but I'll go over to really probably the next pressing issue, which is Monday. This will probably come out probably after the ban and restricted announcement, so I'm intrigued. You're going to go and probably say, oh, what do you think? And everyone probably already knows by the time we said this, but whether or not Count Your Blessings should be banned, or it is or isn't banned, should it? In your opinion?
I think it should. I mean, I don't really understand what the aim of it is. Like, what, like, I've seen like memes where people post about, the articles where they've basically described what they want games to be. They want them to be thematic. They want it to be back and forth and all this sort of stuff. And I don't really understand what the card sets out to achieve. Like, you look at a card like, I don't know, something random off the top of my head, like Moonshot or something. So Moonshot's like that random card that goes, if you can play this attack and get rid of a load of hyperdrivers, then you can do something cool. And like, that's like the whole thing around Max about having hyperdrivers, and here's his card. You completely understand what that card's trying to do. And you look at some of Yal's stuff, for example, as well. Like you go, oh yeah, so I can understand that I want to get rid of their equipment and I can give them frostbites in the gaps that they've got. I can understand what we're going for here and why that's cool and thematic. You look at County Blessings and you're like, I don't really understand what this is showing that I do. Or
apart from, in my opinion, so this is the 2 things that why I think it should be banned, and if it was, and what I think makes sense with this card. I'll start with that one. If this was Verdance's card, no one would care.
No.
No, there you go. I get it. Verdance is about getting life. That's her ability. This is what it does. This card is very good for Verdance. Way and oh my god, all she does is block and gain health, but she does a thing. Yeah, I think we'll all go. It's Verdance. That's a different conversation. Is Verdance cool or not? Right? But it's not. This is like belittle Minnoism. That someone put that out there, and it made me think. Actually, that feels like this. That feels so much more in line to me. That it's like belittle Minnoism, because those cards are generic cards, and they slide into, as you know, because you love. We both played a bit of that, but I know that you certainly did. That was in Briar, that was in Chain, that was in Fire. It's all this, and it's just this is the aggro package. You put those cards in. Why would you not put these cards in? They're very bloody good. And if it was still about to this day, that would be in the Viscerai deck. For sure. Look at all these 0 for 3s that we have now got. Belittle does this. Find card. Card does... You just know it will be in the deck. And it'll be like, this just doesn't feel like Viscerai. This is just effective garbage. Here is the other end of defense heroes. New. Living Legend with Oldhim in the final. Enigma wins the World Championships. It's also all this stuff. You're like, right. So Jarl's coming out. Would you be shocked if there was a Count Your Blessings Jarl deck? No. You know what I mean? I don't know if it'll be good, but it just it's just pushing too much. That's my sort of take on it. And I think this, if you're going to have this stance with belittle Minnoism, which we all agree with, this should be in that spot as well. What's your thoughts on that take?
Well, I just don't think fatigue in general is a good thing for the game, and I have to believe that the LSS agree in terms of limited. For example, like look at this limited format. Like we've had Bright Lights where that was like a format that was dominated by fatigue. The more we go through limited formats like this one, I think it's great because games end. Games end because the players hit 0 life and the game is finished. And you've got a winner and you've got a loser. And I think in the same way that fatigue is bad for limited, fatigue's not a good thing for constructed. I mean, especially because imagine all these Magic players that you've got watching the stream on YouTube and going like, oh, it's a World Championships. I've played this game a couple of times. Yeah, let's have a look how it's going. And you watch my game maybe, for example, where it's 35 minutes in and one player's still on 40 and one player's on 35 or something, and it's like, oh, this doesn't look. Why is this guy not attacking like ever? All he does is block. And is that good? Is that good for players to watch? Is that good for players to play? It didn't feel great for me.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? Because actually, I weirdly, this is kind of my counter. This is going to slightly counter my argument a little bit here. If I just watched a Dash.io versus Aurora, that wouldn't interest me either, because I just know it'll be who's got the best, 7 turns, if that, right? And you go, oh, okay, I guess he drew the nuts, GG. It's like, that's not even, that to me is not that great either. On that long game, I actually get to to see the players do a thing, and maybe it's just, don't get me wrong, it's way too long, right? It's way too long, but it did actually showcase off some. This isn't top deck shenanigans. This is executing game plans, and that's really cool to see. So it is that weird dynamic.
Yeah, the blocking has to be part of the game, otherwise, yeah. Imagine if no cards had blocked at all, no cards had block values, and we just went, let's see who deals each other 40 the quickest. And yeah, that's obviously going to be dull. And I agree with you that probably some of the most interesting games are the ones where it's like 2 mid-range decks or 2, an aggro deck versus a mid-range deck, like Florian, for example. Like Florian's capable of just being really defensive, but like goes, okay, this is a hand where I'm going to take a bit more damage and I'm going to come back and disrupt you. Very Guardian-esque, where Bravo, for example, would take a bit more damage to go, right, here's a dominated Spinal Crush or something like that. I love them games. It just feels so dull when I feel like there's only one player playing to a certain extent. Like I'm playing against this machine that just puts down 3 blocks sideways, and I have to figure out how I can beat it.
The Talashar bot, I call it. You go, here's my health. Can you do it? We'll see. But I think it's also just seeing their health. You go, oh my god, yeah, we got him down to 20. Okay, that's just soul destroying. Seeing some dude get back up to 36 after playing 2 Count Your Blessings in a row, and you're like, oh, here we go. It just doesn't fit. I think James Wright will. I feels ridiculous if they don't address it, because at the end of the day, a lot of that whole band booking thing with James Wright's ethos. When he did that interview, he said, "Look, I like everyone else. I tuned into a tier 4 recording game, and if I go and see a matchup, I go, this sucks. I turn it off, and this is my game." That what does that say? And that to me is what a lot of people will go, oh, what are we playing? Oh, Enigma, Count Your Blessing. Oh, yeah, whatever. Bored, whatever. You know what I mean? It's not like the best sort of games we want to see, which I do agree with, is imagine you see like Jarl versus Florid. That's going to be kind of a sick matchup. Moving over to Jarl, are you hyped? We've got some more cards now. We've got some weapons and equipment, and I think a completely outrageous ice card, in my opinion.
I'm a little bit nervous about him because Open Old is, and he gets 3 more cards to fuse it with. So like that feels worrying to me, and I hope that the answer isn't just going to be, well, you can't ever beat Enigma, so because that's, I think, a worrying part of Illusionist, really, where we had it with Prism and Oldhim right back at the start, and then you got like Dramai giving Guardians a bad, hard time and stuff, and I don't really like it when the only answer to a Guardian is, well, you can't beat the Illusionist of the format. Like, so I'm hoping that it's not going to be as one-sided as that, but Oakenol does give me the worry that I just don't understand how aggro decks are meant to beat this deck with all these tools, Channel Lake Frigid, Stalagmite, awesome armor, new cards coming out and stuff. Oh, and by the way, here's 3 Oakenols, which are just clearly the best card in the format.
Yeah.
I hope it's...
No, I hope it's not. I think it's going to be strong. I don't think it's going to be busted. I think it's going to be strong, and I think he's going to walk the meta. And I think everyone having this red line, not whatever it was, is gone, and everyone's going to go, oh. I think that's fine because something's going to come out of it, right? This might actually turn around and go, hey, Florian just kicks 2 living, booties out of this thing, right? Do you know what I mean? And I love the fact that he do it. I think that ice card is pretty ridiculous, in my opinion. The one that goes, hey, if there's a -1 counter on this, yeah, we'll just get rid of that. It's all cool. Don't worry, no interaction. Just don't fret, bro. I know I got all this mangle stuff. I know you think I'm gonna mangle you. Just get rid of this. That's fine. Don't no pitching. It's all cool. We'll just apple crumble your Stormstriders, and then
the flavor of like, oh, you got no shoes on. Well, your feet are gonna get cold then, aren't they? And yeah.
I actually have this feeling that people are going to go down this theory of going, oh, okay, well, I just won't use my equipment. And after seeing that card, you go, oh, no, you will. You go and max out your value of your equipment to the nth degree and accept you're going to get frozen. Just accept it. And that is your late game problem, which you've got to work out. And I think that's really cool. And I think he's going to force, hopefully, I'm being a bit optimistic here, he's going to force that sort of game style. Of course, this is in the world if Count Your Blessings is gone, because if it isn't, that does seem pretty grim to me. Anyway, I'm not going to take up too much of your time. Thank you so much for coming on the channel and giving a little nice story to your world's journey. And I know in Quickstar that you do a lovely celebration with everyone because you're a generous man. I don't know why you did this with us at San Jose with your top 8 win. Where did you go? Where did you take the boys and girls this time?
We went for Okonomiyaki, I think it's called. I think I'm saying that right. Anybody who has had it will know what I mean. It's Japanese for anything grilled.
Sounds good.
So it's like a pancake served on a grill, and there's all sorts of stuff on it, like cabbage and meat and all sauces and like a pancake batter and stuff. It's really good. Also really cheap. So wow. I think there was 8 of us, and it cost me like £100 for everyone, which was cheaper than it probably was in San Jose.
San Jose was Yeah, that was it. I can't remember where we went on there, but yeah, awesome, dude. Thank you so much for your time, and so once again, well done for getting to the top 8 for Worlds, and see you again soon. I'm pretty sure.
Thanks, Hamish.
See you later.